Hello, hello. I'm Good Morning Michele, and this is episode number 3, Make Your Mindset. Welcome to the I Cut the Mustard show, where a plant-based diet and small, simple moves make healthy change happen. And where we believe that you already have what it takes to slice through any barrier that stands in your way. Shing! You're sharp enough. You cut the mustard. Alrighty, today we're talking about one of the most important things to making change happen, which is your mindset. And specifically, how to make your own mindset. And today I want to share with you one of my very, very favorite tools. It completely changed my life and how I look at my life, how I show up in the world, and how I make change happen. And this tool is called the model from Brooke Castillo. It is just the combination of the work of a lot of really great thinkers that Brooke took, and she put it all together into a super easy framework that I love. I love frameworks because they give me a little math equation that I can look at and I can plug things in, and it's a doable way for me to make change. So that's what I really, really love about this model. And I came across Brooke's work about 2 years ago now, whenever I was looking for a way to figure out how to stop overeating, number one. And I also had some success with not overeating, and I wanted to figure out why. What was going on in my brain that was helping me stop, whereas I couldn't have success in the past. So I was talking to a friend of mine. I feel like I was having one of those days where I was a little bit down and I went to see a friend. I just felt like I needed to go talk to this friend. And I went in. It was amazing. She really understood what I was saying. And she said, "You've got to listen to this podcast," which led me to another podcast. And I just really love Brooke. I connect with her and I love all of her work and how simple she makes things. And it saved my life because previous to this point, I had been trying to make change happen, but I was blaming my situation. I felt trapped, and I just did not know how to wrap my brain around moving forward. And this tool just really gave me the vision that the vision for how to move forward. I could look at things from the outside perspective. I could evaluate what's going on in my life, and I can move forward with it. So without further ado, here it is if you haven't heard it yet. The model is an acronym CTFAR, and it is explaining how we interact with our world. So the C is a circumstance. It's the facts. It's boring stuff about our world, like the grass is green, or it's 72 degrees outside, it's 50 degrees outside. It's really boring, factual stuff that you can say in a sentence maybe, and that everyone can agree upon. That's the big thing, that maybe everyone agrees that those are the facts. Okay, so that's the first line in the model. The second line is the T line. It stands for thoughts. T's for thoughts. What happens is there's facts out in the world. Maybe it's something that happened in our childhood, or it's the way that tree's growing out in my backyard, and I have a thought about that fact. Today, I'm going to use the example about my kids and my messy living room. I see toys on the floor. There's toys on the floor of my living room, and my thought is that my house is a complete mess. Okay? So that's the C line, the facts. We can all agree that there's toys on my floor. My thought about that is that my house is a complete wreck. And from that thought, it creates a feeling in me, right? So whenever I think the thought, my house is a complete mess, I feel a bit discouraged and frustrated, maybe. Let's go with frustrated. I feel frustrated and I start having other thoughts like, oh, I shouldn't have to clean this up all the time. Why are they so messy? That sort of thing. So my thought is creating my feeling, and my feeling is going to create my action. So if I'm thinking that this house is a disaster, I shouldn't have to deal with this, then I'm going to get my kids to deal with it. And I'm frustrated and annoyed, so I'm probably going to get them to deal with it in a way that's not very nice. I'm going to be yelling at them. I'll be complaining about how terrible my life is because my living room's a mess, and I'll make them do it. So the result then, the R line, is that maybe it'll get cleaned up, but maybe the result is just more frustration, honestly, and more anger about what's going on, because if they don't clean it up, then I'm just going to get more and more mad about the situation. So there it is. It's a C for your circumstance, and then you have a thought about that circumstance, which is the T line. F is your feeling that comes from the thought. A is the action that you take based on that feeling. And then R is the result that you get from that action. What is so amazing about the model is that we see that you are in fact in charge of your own results. You produce your own results based on those thoughts that you're thinking. Starting with the T line, it's sort of a chain reaction that you create, right? So I had the thought that I shouldn't have to deal with this. Then I feel frustrated. I start yelling at my kids. Then we have more frustration and anger, and we all clean it up together in this kind of terrible way, right? But you can see that I created that result, and the result links, if you do this exercise right, the result links back to the thought that I had. I felt entitled and frustrated, right? And that I shouldn't have to deal with this. And so then my result was that I made my kids have to deal with it, which in turn produced more frustration and anger, right? So it's just kind of feeding on itself. It's a feeding loop there. But what's cool about this is that I can control these things. I could stop in the middle of this madness before I go talk to my kids and yell at them. I can stop and say, hey, look, this is what I'm thinking. This is how I'm feeling. I'm feeling frustrated. And I can pause and I can look at it in a different way if I want to. We're not going to go into how to change your thoughts on this episode because it's a little bit too much for one episode. I really want you to be able to understand what's going on, because I think these concepts are huge. The fact that you create your own thoughts and your own emotions is a big deal. And I remember in college feeling like I didn't understand this concept. I remember having a conversation with someone and she's like, can you really change your own thoughts? Can you really change your own emotions? I just thought that was something that happened to you. And I've had discussions with other people about this. Like, things just happen to you, right? These emotions just come on and you can't control them. But the reality is that you can control them, and they're there for a reason, which is also good news. So maybe I'm in the middle of something and I start to feel frustrated, but I don't understand why, right? Or this happens to me a lot. I'll be just going about my week, but everything is making me so mad. And every little thing that anyone does around me is annoying me. And it's not the things that they're doing that's annoying me, right? It's the thoughts that I'm having and the emotions that I'm creating. And a lot of times it's because I'm repressing some emotion or I'm stressed about something, right? And so I'm just feeling down. So it's really, really empowering to know that, number one, these circumstances around me don't control me. That's huge. The circumstances around you don't control you. What happened in your past doesn't control you. That's not to say that there aren't consequences from your past. There totally are. There's reality that you have to deal with, and there's certainly things that we can't change, right? We can't change the way that other people act or react to what we do. We can't change the past. We can't change the speed limit today necessarily, right? So there's certain things that happened that we can't change. But the cool thing is that there's so many things that we can change. It's so empowering to know that you create your own emotions. Isn't that so empowering? You don't have to feel like so-and-so made me mad or so-and-so made me sad because they didn't. You got to decide based on what you were thinking about what they said. Let me give you an example there. There are certain situations that happen in our lives where most of us would agree so-and-so was mean, so-and-so made you feel bad. For example, when someone says something nasty about me behind my back, then maybe we would all agree and say, man, that was terrible of them. That they did that to you and they're making you feel sad. But the truth is that they can't make me feel anything. I get to choose whatever I feel. So maybe they said something like they hated my hair, and someone else told me that Julie hates my hair. Okay, then I'm thinking something like, then I might have the reaction like, oh yeah, maybe my hair is terrible. Does it look bad? And I'm starting to second guess myself. And I think thoughts like, she's mean. I can't believe she said that to me. And I'm feeling bad because I'm creating it. And I could have a completely different reaction to the same situation. I could hear that Julie hates my hair and I could start laughing hysterically because I know that a few days ago we had this little inside joke and it means something totally different than just what it means on the surface. So instead, I think it's a joke and I'm laughing because I made it mean something totally different. So as you can see, we have all the power over our thoughts and over our emotions. And we can create our results based on the things that we're thinking, the mindset that we have. So I guess the biggest things to get out of this podcast today is number one, there are circumstances in our lives that we absolutely cannot control. But those are pretty few because everything else on the list we can control. We can control our thoughts, what we're thinking about that situation. We can control our feelings based on that thought. It creates our feelings, and then those feelings create our actions, and those actions create our results. So because of the thoughts and feelings that we had about the situation, we get to choose the results that we have. This is amazing news, and I will elaborate on it a little bit more in future episodes, and we'll go over this again and again and again because these concepts are mind-blowing. So many of us are walking around our lives feeling like the victim. I was abused as a child, and now I have certain mindset coming from that. And even though I've tried and tried, I can't get over it. Or just my job is this certain way, or my husband talks to me like this, or my children are just this way or that, and they're making me crazy. We're taking all of the responsibility and we're putting it on other people. We're giving them our power, and we're giving the circumstance our power, and then we stay stuck that way. For example, with weight loss, right? Oh, that's just my body type, or that's my genes, that's how all my whole family's fat, or whatever it is. That's fine if you want to think that, but if you look through and say, when I think that thought, how do I feel? I feel pretty stuck, right? I feel hopeless. And then what action do I take? I take inaction, or I sabotage myself. And my result is that I stay stuck because I felt like I'm stuck and I'm saying these things over and over. My mindset isn't in the right place. So to begin using this beautiful model that I promise will change your life, I would suggest to start by just observing what's going on. Just observe yourself thinking about certain things, and what feeling is that giving you? What results are you getting from it? And just observe with compassion, because a lot of times whenever we start to understand that we're the ones controlling our results, then we can be a little hard on ourselves and think, man, I really want to change this right now. Or we can be like, why am I doing that? And just be impatient. But there's certain beliefs and systems that have been going on in our brain since we were little. They're not going to change in 2 seconds. But as you begin to look at them and you begin to observe and understand what's going on in your environment around you, pretty soon you're going to be able to change that, which is really, really exciting. And I think this is the key to habit change. It's the key to stop overeating. It's the key to losing weight, finally, is understanding and being able to reprogram that mindset in a way that serves you. And in the next few episodes, I am going to give you a lot of tools and ways of thinking about this so that you can move from where you're at now to a newer, better, healthier version of you. So before we move into a lot of those big moves that I talked about last episode, we're going to focus on mindset first, because I think it's the key to unlock the door to the rest of the things. You can brainstorm all of the shifts that you need to make change happen in your life, but you're not going to do them unless your mindset is in the right place, unless those thoughts are leading you to the action that you want to take instead of sabotaging you. So join me in the next few episodes to dive deeper into this mindset thing, and then we'll dive into those small moves that we talked about before, and we'll just rock it, and hopefully you will make change happen in a way that you've never done before. I am so excited for you. I will see you next week for another episode. Bye-bye. Yoo-hoo! Thanks for jamming with me. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and click subscribe before you leave, and I'll see you next time for another great episode of the I Cut the Mustard show.